What if I told you a man vanished without a trace, leaving behind a crime scene that would haunt a small town forever? Imagine a father, a pillar of his community, living a seemingly idyllic life with his beautiful wife and 2 cherubic children. Their house, a picturesque vision of domestic bliss, nestled in the heart of a small, close-knit town where everyone knew everyone. Then, one chilling morning, the unthinkable happened. The veil of perfection was violently ripped away to reveal a horrifying scene. The wife and children, lifeless, their dreams and laughter forever silenced, and the father, gone, as if swallowed by the earth itself. No note, no clues, no discernible reason for his sudden and mysterious disappearance. The town's tranquility shattered, replaced by an eerie silence that echoed the questions on everyone's minds. Where did he go? Why did he do it? And so began the hunt for a man who had seemingly vanished into thin air. The family lived a life that seemed picture-perfect to outsiders. Residing in a quiet, picturesque town where everyone knew everyone, the Smiths were the epitome of an idyllic family. The father, Richard, a respected figure in the community, was known for his charismatic persona and a smile that never seemed to fade. He was the little league coach, the neighborhood handyman, the guy who always had time to lend a helping hand. His wife, Amelia, was a dedicated school teacher, loved by her students and admired by her peers. Their 2 children, Anna and Jake, were as bright and charming as their parents. They were the kind of kids who made every parent in the neighborhood feel a twinge of envy. They excelled in school, were active in sports, and seemed to radiate an infectious joy wherever they went. From the outside looking in, the Smiths were flawless. They were the family that everyone aspired to be, the family that seemed to have it all. Their home was always filled with laughter and warmth, a beacon of happiness in the small town. It was hard to imagine that anything could ever shatter this picture-perfect image. But there were subtle signs, barely perceptible hints that everything wasn't as rosy as it seemed. Richard's smile sometimes seemed strained, his laughter a little too forced. Amelia's eyes often held a far-off look, as if she was lost in her own world. And the children, despite their outward cheerfulness, were unusually quiet and reserved when they thought no one was watching. These were the tiny cracks in their facade, the little inconsistencies that hinted at a deeper, darker truth. And then there were the whispers, hushed conversations in the local grocery store, quiet speculations about the family that seemed too perfect. But these were quickly dismissed as nothing more than small-town gossip, the idle chatter of bored neighbors. After all, who would ever suspect that anything sinister could lurk beneath the surface of such a picture-perfect family? But, as we know, things are often not as they seem. The day of the crime started like any other. A routine morning, a mundane Tuesday, in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The sun rose, casting its golden hue on the houses lined up with pristine precision, the air filled with the scent of fresh-cut grass and brewing coffee. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, a chilling narrative was about to unfold. The father, a seemingly devoted family man, set off for work, his briefcase in one hand and a sense of foreboding in the other. The children, 2 bright-eyed cherubs, waved him off, oblivious to the impending calamity. The wife, a picture of grace and warmth, smiled from the doorway, her eyes brimming with love and trust. As the day progressed, the neighborhood hummed along with its usual rhythm. The children's laughter echoed through the park, the clatter of dishes from the kitchen, the hum of the father's sedan as he returned home. But beneath these ordinary sounds, an ominous silence was slowly creeping in. Neighborhood friends and acquaintances recall the day with a shiver. Mrs. Harper, the next-door neighbor, recounts, "Everything seemed normal, just another day." But when the evening rolled around, an eerie quiet had fallen over their home. Jim, a family friend, shares, "I remember calling around 7 to invite them to a barbecue the next weekend. No one picked up. I thought they'd gone out, but their cars were in the driveway. It was strange." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the lights in the family house didn't flicker on. The laughter and chatter that usually filled the air were replaced by an unsettling hush. The neighborhood, once vibrant and full of life, was now held captive by a chilling silence. The hours ticked by, and as the clock struck midnight, the unthinkable had happened. The sanctuary of a family home had been transformed into a crime scene, the echoes of laughter replaced by the deafening silence of loss. By nightfall, the unimaginable had become reality. The day that started like any other had ended in a nightmare, leaving a community in shock and a nation in disbelief. With the grisly discovery, a complex investigation was set in motion. The immediate aftermath of the crime was a whirlwind of activity. Law enforcement descended upon the scene, their minds filled with grim determination. Yet the father, the prime suspect, was nowhere to be found. The initial police investigation kicked off with a sense of urgency. Detectives scoured the crime scene, meticulously combing through every inch of the house. They hoped against hope that some shred of evidence, some minute detail, would lead them to the father. The forensics team, like silent specters, moved through the rooms, their gloved hands delicately lifting fingerprints, collecting samples, and photographing the scene from every possible angle. But as the hours turned into days, and then weeks, the investigation started to feel like a maze with no exit. The father seemed to have vanished into thin air. The lack of substantial evidence was baffling. There were no signs of struggle, no clear indications of forced entry, and no trace of the father's whereabouts. Only the haunting silence of the empty house and the memories of a family that once was. The investigators followed every lead, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed. They interviewed neighbors, friends, co-workers, anyone who might have had the slightest interaction with the father. Each conversation felt like a puzzle piece, but none seemed to fit together to form a clear picture. The authorities even turned to the public, releasing the father's photograph and details, hoping that someone, somewhere, might recognize him and provide that crucial tip they so desperately needed. But each call, every lead, seemed to end up at a dead end. The father had seemingly vanished without a trace, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement like smoke. As the days turned into weeks and then months, the investigation began to feel like an unending cycle of hope and despair. The father, the man they believed held the answers to their questions, was nowhere to be found. The mystery of his disappearance only deepened, adding another layer of complexity to an already baffling case. Despite their best efforts, the father remained a ghost. His absence was a chilling reminder of the family that once was, and the tragedy that had unfolded. The investigation had begun, but the road to justice seemed longer and more elusive than ever. As time passed, theories arose, but the truth remained elusive. A man doesn't just vanish into thin air, or does he? Theories sprouted like wildflowers, each one more bizarre and captivating than the last. Some whispered of a secret life, a new identity meticulously crafted to blend into the crowd. Others spoke of a more sinister fate, the father meeting the same end he dealt to his family, at the hands of a vengeful vigilante. There were those who clung to the idea of sightings. He was seen on a crowded street in New York, or hiding in the deep woods of Oregon, or sipping coffee in a forgotten cafe in Paris. Each sighting, a tantalizing hint of the truth, a thread to pull, only to unravel into nothing. Every lead, every potential clue wound up as a dead end, leaving a trail of frustration in its wake. False leads added to the confusion. A man fitting the description arrested in Texas turned out to be a lookalike. A letter confessing to the crime postmarked from Canada proved to be a cruel hoax. The father remained an enigma, a specter that haunted the case and the investigators alike. It was as though the earth had swallowed him whole, leaving behind only the echoes of his monstrous act. The investigators, dogged and relentless, were left chasing shadows. Their desperation echoed in the hollow spaces of unanswered questions, their frustration palpable in the silent echoes of the case files. Every theory, every lead, every dead end only served to underline the chilling fact. The father had vanished, seemingly off the face of the earth. The world watched, waited, and wondered. The shadows grew longer, the mystery deepened, and the father remained a ghost, a specter that loomed over the investigation, an enigma that refused to be solved. Yet the question remained, where was the father? The answer, it seemed, was as elusive as the man himself, lost in the labyrinth of theories and dead ends. The father, the villain of our story, remained at large, his whereabouts a mystery that continues to baffle and intrigue. Years have passed, and the case remains as chilling as ever. The father, who committed such an unthinkable crime, still eludes capture. Every top authority from local police to the Federal Bureau of Investigation continues the relentless manhunt, tirelessly sifting through every lead, no matter how cold. The father's face, etched in the minds of those who knew him, is a ghostly reminder of the tragedy that shook the community to its core. The community, once a haven of familial warmth, is now forever marked by this chilling crime. The echoes of the family's laughter, once a familiar sound, have been replaced by an eerie silence. The impact is deep and lasting, a wound that may never fully heal. And so we are left with more questions than answers. Is the father still out there? Did he start a new life or meet his own grim end? And most hauntingly, why did he do it? Only time will tell if these questions will ever be answered.